Hey folks, welcome back to the Portable Gamer, welcome back to Farming Simulator 2017, and welcome back to Upton Farm. So we're going to pick up right where we left off last episode. I did bring the T7 and the seed drill over here. We're not going to hop in there at the moment. We've got, now it's 9 p.m. A lot of daylight for 9 p.m., even in the summertime. So we're just going to keep working until we run out of daylight, and to do that, we're going to get a rake first, and then we're going to very quickly rake up and see how quickly the trailed forage harvester and this tipper fill with grass. I think what I'm going to do, we need to move this out of the way first. We're going to get a small-ish rake, not the smallest one, but kind of a small rake, and we're going to just do one lap around the outside, I think. One lap around the outside of the field. We're not going to do any lengths. And just see how we do on time and speed. And as soon as it gets dark, proper dark, not dusk, but as soon as it gets proper dark, I'll go ahead and end the episode. And the other things we have to do before midnight, at least, are feed and water the sheep, which I will do off camera, and I think I'm going to save the drilling of fields 27 to 28. I'll save that for daylight tomorrow. So, there's that, and you know what, we can rake with a front loader on. So, let us go to the store and take a look at some rakes. So this one is too little at 4.6 meters. This one is just about right. Too big and very expensive. I don't know how I feel about that Krone. Maybe later. Right. No options. One rake. Out of money again. And you can see we've got a message up on top. The JCB is due for an oil change, but we're not going to worry about that at the moment because we're not driving it. So if you see that flashing up there, there's nothing I can really do to get rid of it, but I don't know that it's that obtrusive. It's a little bit annoying, but not the end of the world. So as we're working, I'll tell you what's going on here. There was nothing posted to the channel yesterday? Today's Tuesday. There was something posted yesterday. There was an ETS video posted yesterday. There was nothing posted today, Tuesday. I'm recording this today. I'll post it tomorrow. And I was trying to do one per day. You know, as we're getting out here, I realized I didn't even check the horsepower, but I'm confident the T6 can pull that rake. I hope. Guess we'll find out when we get down there. Normally today, I would have posted a cattle and crops video. I would have recorded it yesterday and posted it today. Neither of those things happened. The reason is, cattle and crops is on a bit of a hiatus because of the problems that I had with the AI at the end of the last episode that we recorded. And I guess realizing that I can't see a way to finish that episode, or that mission rather, I can't see a way to finish it without AI because it involves the forage harvester, which has no tank. I can't drive the forage harvester, load it up, and then park it, go get a tipper, and empty it as you would with a combine harvester for cereal crop or corn or something. You have to have AI participating with you. Either you drive the tipper and AI drives the forage harvester, or vice versa. Now, if I drive the tipper, it'll take forever. We need to harvest literally every bit of corn on the map to complete the mission. And there's just no way that's going to happen. And when I try to have multiple AI workers in the tippers, everything just kind of goes to pieces. I checked on the forum, it's a known bug. It's not the end of the world, it's early access, but at the moment, there's really nothing else we can do with cattle and crops, so I had to put that on hiatus for a minute. I recorded an American Truck Simulator video, but I noticed when I reviewed it, I noticed a lot of skipping and stuttering. I'm really not sure where that's coming from, although I also noticed that in Cattle and Crops, which is also a Steam title. So I got to wondering, is that stuttering that I get from time to time in Cattle and Crops related to Steam? And I don't know. I have Rise of Flight, and I recorded a video yesterday, Rise of Flight, Steam game, no problems at all, very smooth. So the stuttering it drives me crazy, because in the game, I've got my little NVIDIA FPS counter up in the corner. Like, I have it right now, and it says we're 60 plus FPS. But then when I review, even in the farm sim videos, there's just a little bit of stuttering and lag. Not nearly as bad as Cattle and Crops. So I don't know where it's coming from, I don't know what causes it, and I can't see it when it's happening. And also, I think one of the most frustrating things for me is it comes and goes. And as a geek, as a computer guy, I can tell you that when something comes and goes, it generally means that something is turning on and off. If it's consistent, then you've got a process or something, and obviously if it's consistently happening, there's a problem with the process or something. And if it's consistently not happening, then your setup is dialed and working well, nothing to worry about. So it comes and goes, and I don't know what that means, but that's I have an ATS video that I recorded, but I'm not going to post it because the quality is not very good. I have a Rise of Flight video that I recorded. The gameplay, I don't think is very good, and it's just not very interesting. I don't know if it ever will be. It seems like it might be a game that is... I mean, I know some people look at right? I said I was going to do one lap and call it, and here we are on our third, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. The windrows aren't very big, and I think I need to make a few of them if we're going to be able to fill that tipper. So, so there are some games that I know people look at and they think, wow, that is incredibly boring. How could you even play that game? And why would anybody watch you play that game? Farm Simulator comes to mind. But it is something that I enjoy, and it's something that people seem to enjoy watching. Not necessarily on my channel. My channel very small right now. You know, we're early days, but there are farm sim channels that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers and millions of views. So it is something that some people like watching. Rise of Flight. Oh, don't hit the house. Rise of Flight. In the same way that people look at Farm Simulator and say, man, that is so boring. Why would you want to play that? Why would you want to watch someone play that? That is, I guess, how I felt reviewing that Rise of Flight video. I did enjoy playing the game. I do enjoy playing the game. But it's not anything, I think, that anybody would want to watch. It's just really... It's really slow. I mean, we took off... I took off career mode. I took off with my squad mates. My squad was on point, and we flew for a while, maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and then we shot at a balloon. The mission was to shoot down a balloon, and we didn't even shoot it down, which is kind of par for the course in Rise of Flight. It is a realistic World War I combat flight simulator, and in World War I, actually in a lot of wars up to even the present day, you don't always hit what you're trying to blow up. And in World War I, when planes were made of wood and paper and fabric and had no radar, you really didn't always hit what you wanted to. You hear things in like World War II, it took, I think the average was it took like 150 missions before a target could be, like on average, before it could be blown up. So if they wanted to blow up a dam or a factory or something, it would take 150 sorties or 150 missions, just ridiculous numbers. Like 95% of the bombs dropped in World War II didn't hit anything. I mean, they hit something. They hit the ground, they hit houses and stuff, but they didn't hit whatever it was that they were intended to hit. Which I find really kind of sad and kind of humbling too, I guess, to think how much more efficient we are at waging war, which sounds horrible, but then you think the better we are at hitting our target, the better we are at not hitting like civilians and houses and that sort of thing. Anyway, conversation for another day. Point being, in World War I, very often, you flew out to attack something and you didn't have any success. So that's not very compelling gameplay, even though it's extremely realistic. So that's no good. I'm thinking of testing IL-2 Sturmovik, seeing how that goes. Spin Tires, I think, is the same way. Spin Tires is a lot of fun to play, but I can't imagine, particularly with those crazy camera views, if you know Spin Tires, you know the cameras they're really trying to only be positive. I'm trying not to be negative about anything. I almost went very negative. The cameras in Spin Tires are very unique. I've never played another game with cameras like the cameras in Spin Tires. So, I mean, I'll try it. I know some people have posted videos of them playing Spin Tires. I'll give it a try. I'm not terribly optimistic. What else? I've got some city building games. Kind of the same thing. I've got City Skylines. I've got Planet Coaster. I know some people. In fact, I watch some people play those games, and they are. I would say they are absolutely amazing. I can do what they do, but not nearly as well, to the point where, and when I say I can do what they do, there's a reason I'm saying that. Like, I know what they're doing, and I can do it too. I just can't do it nearly as well or nearly as fast. And I certainly can't talk while I'm doing it. So, I mean, the reason that I say I can do what they do, that's sort of critical. It's like, you know, I can play the clarinet or I can throw a basketball. But that doesn't, right? You see what I mean? There are things that I can't do at all. I can't drive a train. So when I see somebody driving a train, I assume that's hard, but I don't know how hard it is because I've never even tried it. But when I see something like City Skylines, I think, I've done that. Like, I know how hard that is. So there's definitely a level of respect there. I can't even come close. I wouldn't waste my time or yours playing something like City Skylines. And I mentioned driving a train. I don't have Train Sim World, but I do have CSX Heavy Haul. And same, I wouldn't put you through it because it's a fun game, I guess. But there's a lot of just driving and looking out the windshield. Is that it? Are we full? It says we're full. Okay. So how did we do this last time? We disconnect. Right. Let me get this up here out of the way a little bit. So I wouldn't expect you to watch CSX Heavy Haul. And in fact, I know some people did. The game's been out for a minute. I know some people did post videos of it, but it seems like not many. And I have to think part of the reason for that is because it's just kind of an odd game to watch. There's a whole lot of nothing going on, and in the forums there's actually a debate, and you can find them in the farm and flight and trucking forums as well. But the debate is, are these games or are they simulations? And I know I'm running Project Cars and also a set of Corsa. Let me turn off my rear-facing work lights. I'm running Project Cars 2 and a set of Corsa, and they are some of the hardest driving sims that I've ever played in my life. And I know I mentioned this before. I've been playing driving sims sort of since they were invented. Like really, that far back. And I like the difficulty, but it's definitely not an arcade game. It's not a sandbox game. It's not just jump in and take off. There's a lot of... See, I'm getting stuttering here. I think I have a background process running, which would frustrate me because I've gone through that laptop and given it my special gaming treatment to speed it up. Okay, seems to have smoothed out. Who knows what that was. So Project Cars 2 and a set of Corsa, for both of them, you really have to practice a track a lot, and setup is critical. You can't just hop in and go, and particularly if you run, I run with no braking line activated, authentic assists, which I think is a nice compromise, because if you're in a mid-60s Lotus Formula 1 car, there is no ABS, there is no spin control, there's no traction control, nothing. It's just the driver. But if you're in a contemporary 911 RSR, that does have ABS. So I run with the assists set to authentic. I know, I miss this every time. This might help. I run with the assists set to authentic. It's not there. It's there. That's the one. I gotta swing wide. Not quite that wide. Oh dear. I'm caught on something. Huh, okay. So narrow. Well, at least we didn't hook the trailer much. So I do run those assists, but that's it. And I set the AI sort of in the middle. I don't want it on Sandbox Easy, but at 100%, it's hopeless. I can't even begin to compete. So set the AI somewhere in the middle. And it's still, I really have to focus and push to put up a lap time, a qualifying time that is in the neighborhood. Pole position, sometimes it's happened, but just to put up a number in the neighborhood of the pole, you really have to be caning the car like the entire lap. And if you drive performance cars in real life, if you race or drive sports cars or sport bikes or that sort of thing, you know that when you're pushing a car that hard, you're always just about to crash, that's sort of the heart of racing, is who can be almost crashing for that long. And Oh, it does this sometimes. It's saying I got 7% left. I don't want 7%. Nope. Fine, we'll just leave it in there. Who can drive a car that fast for that long and maintain the focus, not have a lapse in concentration, and also emotionally, it's different in a real car than it is in a sim, because in a real car, there's the physical aspect of it. Like if I push this car too hard and I crash it, there's a possibility that I could be badly hurt or killed. If nothing else, it's going to be really, it doesn't hurt necessarily, but it's an odd feeling to be in a car crash, even in a race car when you're well protected. So there's that, but there's also knowing that you're going to cost either yourself or somebody else a bunch of money when you wreck the car. So there's that emotional component to it, that mental component. And I think for me that's what racing is being able to do that. Well, in these simulations, it feels very similar. You have to be pushing the car so hard, so consistently that I'll run, once I find my mojo, I will run my laps typically within the same second, and sometimes even within the same portion of the same second. So I'll run 154.2, then a 154.3, then another 154.2, and so on and so on. It becomes that finite, and a lot of that comes down to setup. Make a change in the setup and you can add a half a second here and there, and that's a second. And when you have the top 5 qualifying cars all within 1 second of each other, being able to add a second, and when I say add a second, I mean take a second off per lap, then you go from qualifying 6th to pole position. And during a race, when there's traffic directly in front, directly behind, if you make a mistake, if you have a lapse in concentration, you will be immediately passed by 3 cars. And passing is when accidents occur, when you take body damage, when there's bumping and scraping, and when you break the car. So that to me is extremely realistic, and I love it. I don't know if it would make for a good video. It might, but I think unless you sort of understand who you're rooting for and why, and pit strategy and a lot of other things, I guess it would be almost like watching a real race with no commentary. I'm not really sure what's going on here. So that's a possibility also. Project Cars or Assetto Corsa or iRacing. But the reason I mentioned it a few minutes ago is, there's a bump right there. There's a bump in the field right there. The reason I mentioned it a few minutes ago is Rise of Flight and CSX Heavy Haul are apparently extremely realistic games. When you drive a train in real life, like professionally, there's times when it's a whole lot of nothing. It's a whole lot of just, it's like Euro Truck Simulator with minus the steering, because all you need to do is, I always forget which side the thing is on. I think it's on, looking down at it from this angle, I think it's on the right side is the hookup, the attacher. So it is. Go the other way, son. The other way. I'll fill this thing and then we'll call it an episode. So yeah, I know Euro Truck Simulator, and I know that's not going to work. Definitely not going to work if we hit it. Thank you, Collision Box, for being a little generous right there. So I know Farm Simulator and I know European Truck Simulator. I know there is an audience for these kinds of videos. I don't know if there's the same kind of audience for something like Pressure Cars 2 or Assetto Corsa. I'm pretty sure there is not an audience for something like Spin Tires or CSX Heavy Haul. And as far as what are other sims I have that I'm good enough at that I would even consider recording them, I say sims, city building games. The other two would be Planet Coaster and City Skylines. There's an even weirder one called Cities in Motion, made by the same folks that make City Skylines, and it's not even a city builder. You just sort of build and run, build and administer. Is that the end? I think that's the end of the grass. Go over here next to the T6 and get that row, and then we'll call it, because it got dark. So so I guess what I'm saying is I need to figure out what I'm going to use to fill the hole left by cattle and crops. And I've got some options. So I'll think about it, but we'll get this one posted tomorrow, and then we'll continue on. Folks, thanks so much for stopping by to check out The Portable Gamer. We'll see you next time. Take care.